Should have at least done your makeup, Jodi. Gosh. I didn't hear you breathe. I wonder how am I still here? And I can't breathe. I didn't hear you breathe.
Hello. The Goblins of Discord will be diving into the depth that is the dark side of sexual and the dark side of two tonight, because we will be typing a very bad hexie, the infamous Jodi Arias, a murderer and an artist and this is where usually Larissa pitches in with the 7 spitballing. So
I was just thinking, aren't all murderers artists of sorts?
blood artists.
Aren't all artists murderers of sorts? I don't know.
Sanguine artist.
And so we have Beth on for the first time. Woohoo! Beth, if you would like to introduce yourself and share your type.
My name's Beth, and I'm a sexual social 6 wing 7 with a 9 and a 2 fix.
Lovely.
Lovely Venus flytrap.
And we have Mary Lydia on too, who is potentially Jodi Arias type twin.
Exciting and mortifying all at once.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, because we have Pamela DeBar to balance it out. So
yeah, he's awesome.
All right. I will share. And just double checking. I'm just sharing my browser.
Yes.
Okay. I have to do that every time now. Jodi Arias. What does she look like? Beautiful and dark. A vixen, perhaps?
She looks like a vixen, a siren. She looks like a positive type.
Maybe not in some of these photos, but
Yeah.
Well, that is an image change, and she did that on purpose after she was arrested, and before her trial she went for the dark hair and the glasses to come across more innocent and less vixeny, which didn't work. But yeah, these older pictures of her as a blonde are more telling of her type, I think.
I feel like I'd vote more not guilty if she was like a hot blonde, though. So that was maybe a bad move on her part.
I think crime statistic say something else.
What are you guys picking up, Beth or Mary Lydia?
Yeah, same. I mean, it's almost like she kind of tapped into another side of herself to appear as like a mousy, sweet, innocent, which is something that she also believes about herself regardless, I think, as we'll see in some of the interviews. But yeah, it is fascinating how she really wanted to display that for the trial.
Mhm.
Yeah, when she first came out, I didn't look into her much and I just assumed 9. And then this morning I was looking at it thinking, okay, she's a 2. But the more that I dug into this, I think she's a 3-wing 2.
Oh, interesting.
I really think she's still Image, but I think that that's why we're picking up her able to shift her, who she is so easily. I think she's a 3, but she's a sexual type and self-pressed blind. So it's not manifesting as much as like we would see a typical 3 with success being, CEO or business or whatever. So, but I'd like to talk about that.
Oh, interesting. That's a good point, actually, because 2s, are on just one image, stuck on that one image, and 3s are the chameleons.
She, right after she was convicted, and she was talking to the judge about not getting the death penalty, part of her reasoning was because she wanted to start a book club, teach people to speak Spanish. She started making t-shirts that said survivor and selling them for her business. And she made sure to say that she was spending or donating 10% of her profits from that survivor shirt on how much she's spending of her money. And she was very grateful to have spent a lot this year. So
yeah, there's definitely a 2-ish, a huge chunk of 2 in what you just said. I think it's doing the good image, the I'm helpful, I'm here for you, and I'm serving you, I'm serving society, or I'm here for a good cause.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is the art that she's creating from prison, right?
I mean, it does have a triple posy vibe to it. However, I kind of like this 3 idea too.
yeah, and I was thinking she had like a 5 head fix because she'll just drill right into stuff that she's interested in. During the interview, if you watch that interview, he'll ask her about something and she'll go on into this whole backstory of this mental landscape that's only her. It's really interesting when I started watching that, because I didn't feel like she was curating as much helpful as she was this image of competency.
Oh.
Interesting. But if she turns out to be a 3, I think that's also where the competency can stem from, because what I did not see or feel in her in the interviews is the wall. Like 5 fixers are closed off from you mentally, and what I saw was more positive reframing, frustration, and also creating a more positive mental narrative out of the whole situation. Like she murdered her boyfriend, and she was the unconditional positive self-regard that a 7 had. This is what I saw. But
to be honest, I haven't watched any of the videos yet, so I've got no opinion yet, but I'm excited because diabolical. What type is diabolical? Let's find out.
I would also say too that part of what she was doing when she's answering those questions is just a very image type way of kind of guiding and shifting and making it go where she wants you to go. So you'll notice that with the police or anyone who's interviewing her, if the question isn't something she wants to answer, she takes it in the direction she wants to go. And so it does get into these very like saga like things. But it's really just, don't look here, look over here.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where I'm picking up the 3, because I feel like with their defense mechanism, they're going to be identifying with what they have deemed is appropriate, or, what they have determined to be a success, or whatever their model is that they've designed that is it. So that's why I'm wondering, she was so easy to fall into those. I don't know. I want your guys' input on these when she answers those questions and things, because I don't feel like she's setting up an image as much as like how helpful she is or what she's done for everyone. It's coming from a place of like what she's produced or it's so isolated about her. It's really cold. I'm having a hard time connecting with the 2 in her.
Well, she's literally asking the interviewers to be of help in in the solving of this case, like asking for tapes or asking to see evidence so that she can help. But yeah, I think what Mary Lydia just said about the image correction, I think all image types do this moment to moment image correction that she is doing. So it's definitely in the 2-3 space. But yeah, maybe we should just start watching, because there's a lot to watch.
Should we watch the TikTok or should we watch?
Yeah, maybe watch the TikTok first. It's short to give you a first impression.
Shortly after that, we did an interview. This would be her first television interview.
Okay.
All the lights were set up, ready to go. And in floats this very attractive, very vibrant young woman. She was extremely charismatic. She said, "Hi, I'm Jodi." And when she sat down with me, I was really surprised by how excited she was to be interviewed.
That'd be great. Yeah, never put my makeup on in front of a total stranger, but that's okay. You're not that much of a stranger.
Jodi was really concerned about her image right from the get-go.
It's been like weeks since I put makeup on. I'm glad to see this is waterproof. I don't plan to cry, but you know, I probably won't. Travis and I used to argue about my driving because my rearview mirror was always facing me instead of toward the back. He made me feel vain, and sometimes
It appeared to me as if she had some experience behind the camera. I mean, she actually gave our crew direction.
whatever you want to change, or if you don't think something looks right, just let me know. I'll adjust it. I guess if I start getting shiny, then we could take a break. Could you do me a favor and just hold that? Sorry.
I got a sense that she was really enjoying this experience, being on camera. We talked for nearly 2 hours about all manner of things, about her life, about her hopes and dreams, about her family, about her love for this man, Travis. And it wasn't until 2 hours into the interview that I asked her, "Is there anything else you want to talk about?" And then she sighed, sat back in her chair, and told me this most elaborate tale. I almost fell off my seat.
Boy, this is really hard. Trying to think if I want to say this or not. There's a lot of evidence that places me at Travis's house, and there's a reason for that. And that reason is that that I did see Travis the day that he passed away. A lot of things happened that day. I almost lost my life as well.
She was so willing to share this information that could be incredibly detrimental to her case.
There was an argument among some people, 2 individuals, that one wanted to take my life. And
She told me that the intruder actually put a gun to her head and pulled the trigger.
the guy with the gun was standing near me, and I just remember holding my head and closing my eyes.
After a couple days, Jodi agreed to meet with me, and shortly after that, we did an interview. This would be her first.
I mean, I'm kind of getting 3 off that too.
Yeah. Image manipulation, so bad.
I'm getting 2. This is playing into the soft saccharine. I'm a frail bird, but also I'm still a good person. That was no competency. There was no competency flex. I was so helpless and I was so scared, and there were intruders, and I was not the bad person here. I was just trying to protect my friend's life, I think, because she made up this complete ridiculous intruder story in the interview at some point, that there were 2 people shooting Travis and making her swear not to tell anyone. And this is also pointing the blame away and making her someone who just held all of that back in order to help or protect people around her.
I don't know, she seems pretty cold to me, and like threes also do that stuff too. Like they'll, especially 3-wing 2, it's like they'll blame other people too if it makes their image look bad. If it's like, because they got the super ego wing of I want to be seen as good, but it's not as inflexible.
I see 3s more glossing over these failures, like moving on, focusing on the next thing, glossing over, whereas 2 is like a mirror. when it comes to blame, just reflecting it.
Well, we can watch a little bit more. Sorry.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, I feel a lot of disowning the heart space here, which kind of steers me away from 2, simply because it's like the competency I'm finding with her is her ability to manipulate the image. So all the information that's happened, like she's manipulating this whole story of like, you need to see all of this to see what she's, wanting us to see. Like, I'm not sensing this thing of like her painting as like she's this helpful person. To me, it's more she's painting this like I'm innocent, like you were saying. I just feel like it's coming from a different, like a disconnected heart space than a 2. I'm having a hard time putting the words to that, what I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah, I that's what I'm getting to. And I think like obviously any type can be a liar. And
Yeah.
the 2 can do the positive reframe, spinning pride and all that. But 3s are like the TikTok literally called her a sociopath, and I associate sociopathy more with 3 than 2. It's like, because they can just like lie and be what you want them to be and like say what you want them to say, and like they're really good at reading people.
Yeah, and I also watched this video with Ted Bundy, and they both do the same thing of like taking accountability for what happened in a way, but spinning this whole backstory of image so that they're not actually connecting to what they did. There's a video with Ted Bundy right before he was executed, and they're doing the same thing of like telling you this backstory of like Ted Bundy's was porn and the influence of porn. And you have to understand that influenced him, and he's not blaming that, but that's what influenced him. And she's kind of doing the same thing with this story of Travis being like this sexual pedophile freak. I'm not blaming that, but so there was something similar about that was popping up. And when you watch him do this interview, there's the same cold, removed from the heart space thing happening.
So
It's just,
so
yeah.
He's 3-wing too.
Yeah.
I'm still seeing 2 and 3. And the reason is because I get this hint of competency and coldness that you guys are seeing, but it's like, what is she saying that she's competent in? She's competent in saving people and helping people. I was there and almost died too, because I was trying to save Travis. And what else did she say? Oh, when we'll see this later, I'm sure, but when she starts describing him as the pedophile, like you said, I was with him to help him and save him and make, I believed that there was something good in there. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it has the flavor, that 2-3 space. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
So I think you need more to really parse out which is core and which is wing, but I can see both of them at this point.
Yeah.
Can I drop 3 things to consider before we watch further?
Sure.
That is, the heart center always needs competency, just as the whole head center needs reactivity and the gut center needs positive outlook. Like a hardcore cannot exist with some competency influence, because you need competency to keep the image intact and to hold up the image creation. And also the whole heart center has a disconnect from the heart. The 3, the pure heart type, has a disconnect because they're a primary type disconnected from their own center. And they have these 2 modes. Either they're fully connected to their hearts or they're fully disconnected. But 2 and 4 also aren't pure heart types, because 2 infuses the heart with doing, with the gut center, through the scrambling of centers, and 4 infuses the heart with the head center. So it's feeding the heart thoughts to deepen the feelings, to push deeper into it. So there's always a disconnect from the heart, and even a 4 or a 2 is never fully identified with the heart center. They are identified with the distortion created through the scrambling of centers, and they all have competency, regardless of which hardcore you are looking at.
Good stuff. I believe this interview was actually right after she was sentenced or something. So she's got, to me, this has more of a pure reactionary stance from her. Like she hasn't had time to curate much. So I really do like this particular interview with her.
Mhm.
Ignore it, guys.
No, come on.
I think I just went blank. I don't know. I just feel overwhelmed. I think I just need to take it a day at a time.
Is there unexpected?
Night caps.
It was unexpected for me, yes, because there was no premeditation on my part. I can see how things look that way, but I didn't expect the premeditation. I could see maybe the felony murder because of how the law is written, but I didn't, the whole time I was fairly confident I wouldn't get premeditation because there was no premeditation.
It seemed, and you got a lot of questions from the jury. It seemed like some of those jurors didn't believe what you were telling them, didn't believe your story.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I can understand that, I think, because of what I was, the lies that I told in the beginning to try to cover up this, cover up that, hide things that I didn't want to be known, made public.
What did you lie at the beginning?
Well, here's, I don't know, this could just be anecdotal, but I don't think twos ever admit when they like do something wrong or lie. So
I feel like she's coming from this free space of like, here's what's going on now. So what can I do with my situation now? Like it's a constant shifting. Yeah. I wish I had better words to articulate what I'm trying to say about the difference with the two.
Mhm.
Did she really admit it? She says, I'm surprised that they said premeditation. I'm not surprised that they said the other thing because of the way the law is written, not because of what I did.
Mhm.
I think that wording is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's rejection. It's rejection of the complete ownership, but it's because she has no case anymore. She was just sentenced to life in prison for murder, for premeditated murder, and she has nothing else to say anymore but this. And this is her last way of trying to somehow polish or alleviate her really disrupted image in this moment by owning up to some part of it, which is clearly delusional because she drove like a couple hours through the desert and tried to clean up her but I think this is rejection of the full image.
It's the part about her admitting to lying. That's like twos lie all the time and they never admit it. I think you would be hard pressed to squeeze a confession out of a two after they've told some tell.
Yeah, and I don't get that thing of her of like anybody owes her anything. Like twos sacrifice so much, you know, especially when they're that upset. There's always something they're owed. She's not, she's like kind of like shocked because she thought she already had this planned out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
This is interesting because we got 2 on team 3 and 2 on team 2, but we can keep
I love
watching.
it. It's good stuff. This helps clarify the types further, define them.
Yeah.
I also just want to mention, I feel like her 9 fix is really present in this clip because she's dissociating, she's overwhelmed, she's wanting to shut down right now, and she can't do that because she's on camera still or whatever. But yeah, I think you can really see her 9 fix here.
Yes. To be fair, everybody would be overwhelmed and stumped after being sentenced to life in prison. But the way but she's also holding space for the perspectives. Like, I can understand that part. And there's also, of course, you have to consider this. So there's like holding space in the gut center.
Let's cover up that, hide things that I didn't want to be known, made public.
What did you lie at the beginning?
Well, mostly because I was scared, but I also didn't want certain aspects of my relationship with Travis to come out. And I was ashamed of what had happened, how it escalated. I don't know if there's really a word at least in my vocabulary, to describe it. But I think mortified is one of the closest words. Ashamed, things like that.
Do you avoid eye contact with Travis's family while you were in there? Or did you make eye contact? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I typically avoided eye contact. Travis comes from a family where they all sort of look a lot alike. So when I see their faces, I see Travis, and I see the man that abused me, and I don't want to look at that.
I'm still getting 3 from this.
I don't know what to say. This is the truest shit that I've ever seen. It's just she's still holding on to a positive outlook, because by saying all this, she kind of hopes that the press will turn on her and that she gets a resentencing. By now coming in with the abuser story, just now after her sentencing, because I just didn't want to say anything before.
The thing is, like, she's not the way that you just imitated her is not how she's doing it, because that is how twos do it. She's so cold. Like, I'm getting
Very.
He's not cold. This is
And I haven't
emotional.
heard her once say anything about loving Travis or any love she's given.
Oh, in her interview, in her police interview, she says how much she loves, how much she loved him. She emphasizes it a bunch. But now it's 2, and I think also her whole crime to me is 2 going to 8. And a crime of passion. Like, you do not want me anymore, and now I annihilate you, and you will see what was coming for you.
Could be the sexual arc.
And also the complete, this is reframing, it's respinning, it's twisting in the way that 2 does it. I think Travis first being the love of her life, the man she would die for, then being the pedophile, and now being, after the sentencing, her abuser. And this is why she couldn't look his family in the face, not because she's guilty and she's feeling ashamed and she can't live with her own shame. No, she can't deal with that. She has to point it away from her. This is 2 not taking the blame, I think. And yeah.
Let's keep watching.
Yes,
I'm on camp 3 still, but yeah. She's also not triggering to me, which is another tell.
Is it hard? Do you have a sense of where the public feeling is about you? That you're liked or not liked? I mean,
I get the sense that there is great division on both sides, but I believe the majority is against me.
what are your thoughts on that?
A psychologist once explained to me that society has this need to persecute people. They get some sort of gratification from it. So there might be something going on there. Beside that, I don't really, it's so convoluted that we could talk for hours on that, but it just is what it is.
You, just a recent, we'll talk about Twitter in a second, but just a recent tweet we're talking about, you just mentioned the word suicide. I mean, how are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm not really looking forward to what comes next, but
Explain that to me.
well, I just more court, just keeps going on and on. I just wanted to get it over with.
Are you focusing on the court, or are you focusing on what could be the worst outcome for you?
Well, the worst outcome for me would be natural life. I would much rather die sooner than later. Longevity runs in my family, and I don't want to spend the rest of my natural life in one place. You know.
I just don't.
This feels so 3 to me.
Yeah, so 3 to the point where I'm like also entertaining 5-head too, because it's like
Me too, girl. Flatline bitch over here.
I mean, she dropped a 7ism right there, but it's like, yeah, there's something just very cold and flat about her. It's like she just got sentenced. She's just like,
exactly. She's under shock.
Well, I don't know. Is there another video that we should be watching?
Yeah, The Wrath of Jodi, maybe, and go in for
Also, like an interesting thing maybe is that her art
Yeah.
really kind of looks like teal swans on someone who also kind of has that triple posy vibe looking art, but she's like a 358 or something. Um, okay, where should I start it? Is there?
Yeah, where she was lying on the table is a good start. Yeah.
Herself in a certain way and adopts a very specific character with very specific traits, it will give her the best chance at evading the consequences of her actions.
That's really-
In her mind, this character is a soft-spoken, sweet-natured, God-fearing individual, yet to everyone else is quite possibly the most universally annoying person to ever abide in the history of existence.
This give me like Exorcist vibes already.
This is bizarre.
In the next moment, Jodi will hear Detective Flores approaching the room. She will then abruptly place her head on the table to make it appear as if she's sleeping. She will now notice the detective has instead walked past the room and then revert back to her regular sitting position. For whatever reason, Jodi wants to appear as if she's in a far calmer state than she actually is. She wants the detective to believe that she's relaxed enough to doze off, when she is in fact extremely alert and anticipating his arrival. She places her head back on the table to feign a placid state once more, and you'll notice her left shoulder hovers in what looks like a very uncomfortable position for just over a minute. She then hears the external door open, at which point she takes a deep breath and then fully rests onto the table.
Yeah, I'm gonna get those off you. You remember me? I traveled all the way up here and talked to you. Because, well, yeah, I've been working on Travis's case ever since it happened. Okay, and I know exactly when it happened, when he was killed. I know a lot of details. And just recently we found quite a bit of evidence. And I'll discuss that with you. The main thing that I'm looking for, though, is answers on why certain things happened, why they went so far, and also get your statements. Okay.
She's been brought to a police station in handcuffs and now just told her arrest is concerning the death of her ex-lover. An innocent person sitting in her position would want immediate clarification as to what exactly is going on. Jodi doesn't inquire further, just gently accepts.
Even a 2, I think, that had committed murder would still I don't know. I'm still getting 3, even though this isn't very telling so far. Do you guys have any observations?
I just don't see the super ego of 2. That's another point. Like, if you could help me see that part of it. I mean, I do see her using 2 to craft this image, but I still see this big, huge stress response that I would expect from competency, specifically 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying with the competency part of trying to appear more calm, but this is also her trying to appear innocent. And she is not a stupid person, and she knows that if she's being a squirrel in that room, that she will appear innocent, and that she will appear guilty as fuck. Sorry. And
I don't know. It's like also she doesn't have that too like sparkly ooh kind of.
well, she's contra.
So one thing, I mean, I watched that entire Wrath of Jodi thing. There's lots of like tons and tons of stuff that for me pointed to two, but I took note of one thing. When she talks about her relationship with Travis, the state that the relationship was in was that he had broken things off with her and started to see another woman, but she continued to see him. I don't think that this was, to me, this pointed to pride. And I can speak from my own experience a little bit here. She thought, he's going to realize that he loves me the most. And so I've got to stay and keep seeing him. And it is because he loves me the most that he still even wants me around and, you know, lets me come over and all that stuff. But she said specifically, I wouldn't say I was jealous. I think if anyone was jealous, it was him. And so throughout, she really just points to, and I mean, I think part of that speaks to Seven Head too, that she really has this high regard for herself, her ability to love him, her ability to be the best lover. How could he love anyone else? I mean, if I had to imagine that I was there the night that this all went down, it was because of some sort of extreme thing that he said that maybe for the first time poked a hole in that idea a little bit.
Mhm.
I could still see, I mean, people stay with people for various reasons. But I could still see a 3 if it's like benefiting her image, because like 3s often also see breakups as failures, and so they can stay in relationships longer if they think it's going to damage like their image or their sense of self-worth, like what they hold valuable is suddenly gone, and then part of their, especially if they merge with their partners, and then it's like part of them is gone now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there can be different reasons for every type. I think that the reason why I took note of that specific thing about I wouldn't say I was jealous, if anyone was jealous, it was him, is because the only relationships I have stayed in like that it was kind of maybe past the expiration, was because I had deluded myself into the idea that this person loves me and they're just not quite ready to handle that level of love. They just can't hack it yet. And you know, given a little time, they're going to see this and they're going to realize that I'm the only one for them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think sexual main as her instinct definitely plays a role, and I agree that a primary sexual type can stick with something longer, but also a primary sexual or a sexual type, no matter the core, is reliant on the chemistry and the juice. And if threes have, compared to other types, kind of the easiest time to cut something off that isn't giving them success and validation anymore. And he wasn't validating her anymore for a long time. He was very clear with her that he was just seeing her for sex, that he was interested in the other woman, that he didn't want her anymore, that he didn't love her anymore. And I expect a competency image type, regardless of instinct, to make the chop and get your validation from another source more easily than she did. She was being hexed in the way that she was unyielding to his denial of hers, and also unyielding to, I mean, she's painting herself in a corner like dumb hexer types do in this interview to me.
That's what I'm wondering, a similar thing, like I mean, obviously we're in 3-2-2-3 space, but could a 3-wing 2 continue to get that level of, you know, kind of making it seem like they aren't approved of, or would they need a heavier dose of pride like a 2-wing 3 to delude themselves into, no, he does love me, he'll realize that I'm the best one for him. You know, they I don't know if a 3-wing 2 would need more kind of evidence of that affirmation.
I don't see her doing the 2-9 self-victimizing thing post, like she's like trying to just launch an art career.
She is doing this all the time in the interview. This is her whole narrative.
Maybe
She's
we can watch more interviews.
trying on different self-victimizing narratives to get out of this somehow.
I mean, yeah, maybe we need to, I can't really tell a lot from this thing because it's maybe
Oh, this has some glorious moments, like her singing or her playing Seal.
well, maybe we can watch some interviews a little bit just to like actually observe her as well, just like while she's talking, because I just don't see core 2, but
I also think that there is more super ego that does show up. So I'll point that out when I see it, since you asked about that, Bethany.
Yeah, because I'm having a hard time seeing her super ego or any of like the shoulds that I, feel as 2 in myself or see in other type 2s. I definitely see her using 2, but I just have this sense of like she's coming from a place of 3 of like manipulating the image to satisfy her internal needs, if that's the right language. It's not trying to make like, hey, let me show you how beneficial or how loving or how, whatever I am for you. It's like really attachment-y to me. Like she's looking for this mirroring. So she's got to manipulate the image to get it.
Mm-hmm. But all image types are somewhat reliant on being affirmed or denied in their image. And this is how they do the dance. And I also think the superego shows up a bit differently for 6 core than it does for 1 and 2 core. For 1 and 2 core it's more of a self-justification machine. It's more of I feel, so I do, and so I'm right. And with 6, it's more vigilant, and there are more shoulds from the outside because it is attachment, and it's looking for an outside source of internal guidance, which 2 and 1 aren't. They're just very self-assured.
Well, could she be, I'm just floating like a 359 with like a triple super ego overlay or something? Like
No, this is not flat to me. This
seems flat to me, but I don't know. Like she doesn't have that sunny charisma. It just, I don't know, but let's watch a bit more, because like I don't see 2, and I'm usually pretty triggered by 2 energy. No offense to the 2 in there.
Yeah, I feel like flatline with ball buster overlay.
Is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
Singing in jail.
Long lay the word.
God, make it end.
The one time that you started to tear up, a couple of times, you were talking about your nieces, talking about Travis's grandmother. Other times,
That she's not even blinking. She's like a lizard.
it seemed as though you were just completely in control, and maybe you were just having a regular conversation. How are you remaining so composed when this jury has your life in their hands?
Well, it was difficult. I think I was shaking, and I didn't know if anyone else would notice, but people commented on it afterward.
I didn't notice. I didn't know if anybody else would notice, because she's performing, because she's a fucking 3.
As if 2s and 4s are not performing. This is don't make image type just 3. That's
2 and 3, speaking for myself here, is very performative.
I just don't get 2. Okay.
I don't either.
It's convulsing. So I was very nervous. I was emotional, but it's like I have a lot of practice suppressing things, which isn't a good practice, but I utilized a little bit of that. So
a lot of practice suppressing things, because I'm
okay. Lydia, can you say something about suppressing your own heart and the blank heart space, or am I putting you on the spot here?
No, that's fine. So for me, I think this shows up like, because I guess you guys keep mentioning that she seems flat or something, but she wants to paint this picture and over again that she cares about everybody else's emotional experience. So that part of that is the denial of the two's needs. And so if she were to just get up there and cry and openly share all of her own emotions, that would actually point me away from two. She mentions over and over again that she's concerned about the family and, you know, how will this impact other people, and even tries to help the interviewer, like, here, I found these things for you. Can I help you with this? And maybe I could be more helpful. Like Sophie said, if you show me these things, there's a necessity to deny that one's own feelings or needs exist in order to keep the two agenda going. So I think sometimes that can come across as a little bit cold when you try to pry into their own experience, but that's part of rejection, right? It's like if I were to allow you into my heart space, I mean, I just can't. And I'm always putting the focus back out on you and your emotions. And then another aspect of that would be, I've said before, I feel it's weird because I feel kind of like a heart with legs, and yet I feel totally empty because I'm kind of using like a parasite. I'm kind of using your emotional experience to tap into my own heart, because all heart types are disconnected from the true essence of heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That helps. That answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I'm just not seeing it in action. Like, I guess we have to keep watching, but it's like if she's a 3-wing 2 with a 5-wing 6 head, 9-wing 8 head, then she would have triple rejection in her type anyways. I don't know. I'm seeing what I think what Beth is seeing, so this is kind of funny. But I didn't do a deep dive on Jodi Arias, but I just do not get.
Yes, I've been obsessed with her. I watched all of her videos.
Okay.
And
I have got to go here in a second.
The archetypal sexual mad to going to 8 and a crime of passion to me. Yeah, I might be digging my heels in my 9 gut here because I'm just, I'm
I need like actual, I'm just not seeing it in action. Like I need to see it with my own eyes, I think, for me to actually think that she's a 2, but
yeah, and I want to say too that when I watched that interview with Ted Bundy is when I was like, holy shit. Like, I think I am right on the 3, because after I watched him, there was this complete similar thing going.
Yeah, this seems like 3 to me. Like it's just, yeah, let's just watch it more, I guess.
Maintain my composure instead of getting overly emotional and not being able to proceed.
You realize people view that as being cold.
Well, they're not in my shoes, and I'm certainly not cold.
Yeah, you are.
That if you knew 5 years ago what you know now about how your relationship with Travis was so unhealthy, you would have gotten out. We know that on May 26th, Travis sent you that text or email that said you were the worst thing that ever happened in his life. Was he the worst thing that ever happened in your life?
That's difficult to answer because I don't even know how to answer that. I can't say yes and I can't say no.
Why?
Well, because it's such a complex question. It has a lot of facets to it. And I think
she's not doing the 2 positive reframing either. If she had every positive, it's like she's doing the 3 image modulation of like, I don't want to say anything that could fuck myself over is more what I'm seeing here.
I think I could get on board with the 5-wing 6 head, because there is a denial out of lack of preparation that she's doing. So she's holding on, and she's also what she's saying is, I don't have a definitive answer. I don't have the ultimate insight on that. So I can't give you anything. So I can see rejection in the headspace, which would make her flatter too. But I cannot see her as not a 2. Because Yeah, I mean, this is a head typey question. This is how she's dealing with this. Maybe listen to this.
Yeah, I guess then 259 is a rare type. I'm still seeing 3, but yeah. Like also like sexual 2 is a lot. Like sexual 2 is like intrusive and no offense, Mary Lydia. And like she's just not doing anything. Like honestly, like I'm using my own self meter, but I'm just not getting sexual 2 from this. It's
Yeah,
I think you have to watch more Wrath of Jodi. I think like I really went on a deep dive with this after Sophie told me about her, because I had not heard of her before, and I was like utterly fascinated and just felt like this, if I were to go like pathological and totally crazy, this would be a good representation of how that might play out. I just heard it super loud throughout the way that she tries to justify and paints herself as this good Christian girl who just wanted to save this wayward soul. And, you know, that's why she put up with his pedophilia and, you know, different things, because she was just going to save him. And now she's just so concerned about his family and how they must be feeling. And could she please at least, you know, send them a card or reach out to them in some way and make sure that they're okay. And her extreme denial that she did anything wrong, I mean, it's just incredible.
yeah, but that doesn't rule out 3-wing 2 for me. I just don't see it. Like I have to, because the thing is a three knows like what's going to land and what's not, and they're not going to, oh, if I'm seen as a good person with my wing 2, like, you know, I'm a good person. If it's not too, like, it just doesn't feel like I mean, I know all image types are doing image modulation or whatever, but it just doesn't feel like a 2. Like doesn't feel like it's coming from this wet heart space of like,
this is exactly what I'm feeling. I feel this wet heart space all the time. I feel it. And this is also what's so fascinating about her to me.
Yeah. And I guess my main question is, because I do really feel that she's a 2-wing 3 specifically. So I do think some competency is showing up here, but again, like, what is the competency about? And to me, it seems to be about how she's good and righteous and, you know, giving, and I haven't seen any highlight of competence, like, to reverse it, I haven't seen any highlight of competence in the realm of career or anything like that. I mean, this is a very long thing, and she might mention it for a moment to kind of send him down another path. I think at one part she does go into like what her job is and stuff, but it's not front and center like the ways that she's, you know, furthering her career.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not the focus, right? Like, why would she be talking about her career? Like, and she's turned this into her career now. So now she's a fucking famous artist. So
because she's gonna put the focus wherever she wants.
Like sexual 2 is like insanely triggering to me. So she just seems like a flat 3-9.
I haven't seen anything so far that really illustrates competence in any realm except for helping and being good and being innocent and being kind. Yeah. For her, because she is an image type, which we all agree, and she is very carefully crafting and curating everything that you see in front of you.
Oh, she's saying, I cried because of my nieces and I just want them to be okay. And
but it feels like, it doesn't feel like, it feels like a performance she's doing as a 3-wing 2 versus a 2-wing 3 genuinely believing it. Like, is like, it's like I'm watching, it's almost like I feel like we're watching a typing video where the person's trying to LARP to get a 2 is more what it seems like.
The jailhouse interview was more interesting because that and this one, I think she's really just completely shocked.
In this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
I think with time and perspective, I would be able to answer that. But right now, it wouldn't be right to say yes. And I can't say no.
Wouldn't be right, superego.
Yes.
Wouldn't be right, superego.
But it seems more like 390, like I don't know. Okay.
You still love a man that threatened you, as you have alleged, and obviously scared you enough to do something that, I mean, it wasn't just a murder, it was a heinous, hideous murder. How can you say you still love that man that forced you, as you say, to do this to him?
Well, that wasn't the kind of person that he was trying to be. And Travis had many wonderful qualities, many redeemable qualities. And those are the qualities that I focus on. Those are the qualities that I liked and the qualities about him that I loved. And I mean, there's this quote that says, "We love those that know the worst of us and don't turn their faces away." And I don't know who said it. But I think of my family when I think of that, but also because I know the worst of Travis, but I still wanted him to be happy, and I still wanted the best for him. And I never wanted any of this to happen.
What did you want to happen on June 4th, 2008? You went to his house. What were you expecting was going to happen?
I really expected us to just hang out like we'd always done. And that would be the day.
And it turned so horribly wrong.
It really did. Yeah. That's not what I was expecting at all.
At one point, the jury had a question for you, and they said, if you hadn't been caught, do you think you would have turned yourself in? And are you sorry you got caught? You said you couldn't answer that at the time.
Well, I couldn't answer that. I don't know if I would turn myself in.
Mhm.
I'd like to think that I would,
Mhm.
because that would be the right thing to do. On the other hand, can you imagine willingly giving up your freedom? That's a difficult decision to make.
So you wouldn't have done it.
I can't say that I wouldn't have. I can't say that I would have. I still don't know the answer to that question. And as far as being sorry that I got caught, I wouldn't couch it like that.
I still love him because he had so many redeemable qualities, and I knew the heart of him. This is to me also a positive reframing in the heart space that is not entirely pointed at Travis, whom she could secretly underneath her superego surface hate because she rejected him and because he hurt her so much. But her image doesn't allow for her to say that she hates him, because she has to be a good, caring person.
And for myself, I can say that there is this, I call it like a perpetual hope that exists when you have posi reframing types. There is, I mean, I believe in the inherent goodness of all people. And so anytime they do something bad, I'm like shocked, like, no, you have the capacity to do these things. And, so it makes sense to me that she can reconcile him as this predator that she paints him as, but also this person who has all of this potential and good qualities underneath that she's only got to uncover and she could do.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a rejection split, right? There's rejection is like a wall, and some parts you keep outside and some parts you let in. And she lets in the love and she keeps out the bad aspects of him, I think.
What do you guys think for her head?
I think 5 is a possibility now.
Yeah.
There is some 6 influence, but I think it's a wing. I would go for 5 wings, 6. I don't see 279 is it's not triple positive, I don't think. I mean, maybe it's triple positive on meds in a prison. I don't know what that would do to a triple positive person, but I imagine there would still be some and also there's not a lot of frustration in her now. It's
Yeah, that's a good point. She's dropping some 7 buzzwords, but I don't know that that's even really 7 though. I'm leaning 5 as well.
I'm still unclear on her head. Her head, I mean, I've watched at this point so many videos of her, and her head to me has always felt a bit distant and hard to discern.
Like I'm still seeing 3. I can see the 2, but it's like if it was 2 wing 3, like 9-5, then that would be like the flattest 2, the most like joyless, untriggering 2. Or is she a 3-5-9 with a loud 2 fix?
I've gotten to see your mom in court every day, your grandma, your father showed up this week. When was the last time you saw your dad?
Well, he was here earlier in the trial while I was on the stand.
Yeah.
And prior to that, he's come, I think, 1 time in the 5 years. He doesn't travel very well.
Their hearts must be breaking.
Yeah, they are. They are.
It's like I can see the 2, but it just feels so fake. Like, yeah, they are. They really are. Like, I don't know if I'm just projecting or something. It just doesn't.
Well, I think there's also the contraflow thing and the social playground. Like that's not really where her main focus of attention goes.
And you guys are pretty certain of her stacking?
I feel pretty good about it just because it seems like there is this, and maybe this speaks to part of what you're seeing as flatness, but there is this distance to her, which I associate with sexual social. But I think that her real intensity shows up in the realm of SX and in relationships. So probably, Travis was one of the few that actually saw how truly intense that is, but then out in social land where things are fun, it presents as a little bit more distant and aloof and doesn't feel maybe quite as invasive in a way.
Yeah, I guess aloof is a good word for a sexual social.
The very few sexual socials that we know, I can't say anything about Beth because we just met her. I just met her for the first time, but Mary Lydia, okay, you are too, or Travis or Sarah, there's always some lofty distance. And there's always, none of y'all speak about your relationships because it's so sacred. And my partner doesn't do this either. It's like completely walled off. And this is different from sexual self-press with no social border around it. And so I think she might just guard this sacred realm, which comes across even flatter or more aloof, or the contra not giving you what you really want to get at right now, like pulling away always a little bit.
There were a few times where you turn and look at them every now and then, but it seemed like it was few and far between. Why was that?
Well, I tried to remain focused on what was going on in the proceedings. So I didn't want to look back too much because I didn't want to take my attention off of what was important in the proceedings. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know how much you noticed, but I looked at them a lot because I don't know how much longer I'm going to see them, and I want to.
But again, it's that, like, I don't know how much you noticed. Like, were you paying attention to me? Because I was on the stage performing, and like, it's this again. Like, this is so creepy.
Yes, she's creepy.
Yeah.
I think
it's like
what's great too for Mary Lydia and I was that in that interview, the way she was framing the relationship and the complete and utter level of delusion about her in her and her function for Travis. This was to me this 2 part of, but I wasn't worthless for him. I was, the pride. It was really apparent in that interview. And I haven't watched much other clips on her. I listened to, I think, 2 podcasts on her too. and I watched this long interview.
I wonder if there's like any kind of video footage of her before,
Mm.
like before her incarceration, like, because I just like I don't know, there's just something that feels really phony about all of it.
That would be interesting.
Her childhood friend speaks. Okay, that's
But I'm hearing in my ear, joining us right now from an undisclosed areas, her bridesmaid in her wedding has repeatedly visited Arias. These are exclusive new photos of Arias. Tonight, an intimate look, before we go back into the courtroom for testimony, an intimate look at Jodi Arias as she grows up. What was she like then? Was there any foreshadowing the kind of person that she would ultimately morph into? Patty, thank you for being with us. These photos are
just cut to the chase. You
very telling to me. But I'd like to hear your description of Jodi.
like, yeah, just like
all these six heads, like you could see that girl was to become a murderer. She just looks like a pretty and normal and sweet little girl.
Growing up with Jodi, it was a good childhood. She was a sweet girl, you know, this kind of girl that you just always wanted to be around. She was fun. She always had a smile on her face. She's just the sweetest thing, and she was a great friend to have.
You know, these photos really show the close nature of your relationship with her. In fact, Arias almost didn't get to be in your wedding, and there's a story behind that. What happened?
Yeah. I asked Jodi if she could be in my wedding, and she said due to her money situation that she couldn't take off work. And, you know, I told her, well, that's absolutely understandable. And
I don't think a two would do that.
A self-pressed last two, perhaps. Having serious money issues. And also, how much do you really need me?
Oh.
And, you know, I went on about, and my dad had ended up buying Jodi her bridesmaid dress and getting her down from where she lived at the time to where I lived. And when I was going over to my mom's house, went to go get my wedding dress, and Jodi popped out of my brother's bedroom and surprised me. So it was a pretty good surprise.
So I wonder if a 2 or a 3 would be more appalled by this kind of situation, that the girl's parents buy you your dress and have you flown in so that you can attend the wedding. Because I think a 3 would also feel, I guess it's about the validation here and being the special surprise guest. That's so important, that the parents fly you in and buy you a dress. I think that could be a pretty good image hit for it too, also.
Yeah, that could be line to 4 shit. Although it's also a lot of the 3s. I've noticed 3-wing 2s, like their and strong 3-wing 2 fixers, like their special attention. They like that's not just a 2 thing I've noticed, just anecdotally. They like to be shown that they're like getting special treatment, if you will. 2s have pride about like giving, right? So I can see the argument, because like I've kind of seen that like line to 4 shit before, but they also have that pride about how they're the giver and like, oh, I sacrificed so much for you. I went broke, like all just to come to your wedding. Like I feel like that's more of the 2E.
Yeah, but that's also, she's the special girl. I don't know. There's still pride in that, and being so special that you are the one person that cannot miss this wedding.
Yeah, I would feel if someone, I mean, to me, I would frame that as you feel that I'm so needed and like the most important friend, that you're paying for me to come there and you're getting my dress because you just know that you just can't even have this wedding without me. And while I already knew that, I'm so glad that you finally see it.
Would you do something like that though, Mary Lydia?
I don't like the idea of putting myself in a position where, but I don't know that she necessarily did the way the girl framed it. I don't like the idea of putting myself in a position where I had to ask, and I think maybe all of us would feel grimy about being like, I don't have the money to do this or whatever. But then if they insisted because I was so important to the wedding and said how much they needed me, then I would absolutely go and take them up on it. And I would have a little boost about they need me.
Yeah. Fuck.
You know, it's amazing in these photos, Patty, she looks so normal. In fact, very, very
I don't think she does look
almost
normal.
glowing in some of these photos. What was she like at the wedding? What was that like?
I mean, if you just look at photos of her when she's younger, she does look more like in the 2 wing 3 maybe space with a 7 and 9 fix, but it's just like I wish there was video of her when she's younger.
It was interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when the childhood friend first started, I think she used the word sweet to describe her like 3 or 4 times in the course of just like 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then also was talking about how she was always all big smiles and fun. And I mean, I think that comes through in the photos as well.
Yeah.
And the way I described my childhood 3 friends is more like they were always the star of the party, or they were an overachiever, and they were the best at horse riding. And I didn't have many 3 friends, but you know these 3 children, you know them.
Yeah. I want to almost watch this one with her friend shitting on her too, just to see like what the difference is here. Just want to watch for another second here, but
it's funny that you use that word glowing because I use that word a lot. She was full of life and full of giving. You know, we had so much fun. She offered her service since you know, I didn't have all the money in the world to hire all these fancy photographers. So she, as such a great friend, she offered to take my pictures. And so she, as such a great person, said, hey, I'm going to take your pictures and make you this beautiful
photo album.
oh, she just completed her sentence with that. I know Nancy Grace and her horrendous like Karen hair.
Not familiar with her, but she's definitely a Karen, right?
With me. Aaron, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Nancy.
Aaron, I'm extremely curious about what happened when you drove Jodi Arias to the police station the first time she went there. First of all, how did she end up in your car? Why were you driving her to the police station?
Well, you know, I lived with Travis the whole time that he and Jodi were dating, and so I knew her pretty well. Actually considered her a friend. And so when she had come back to Arizona from California for his memorial service, I spent a lot of time with her that weekend. As we were talking, she knew at that point that she was at least a person of interest in the case. And so she thought that it would help to clear her name if she went down to the police station, gave a statement, gave her fingerprints voluntarily. She thought that would all help her out. no regard to what happened to Travis there. And so, being here without transportation, she asked me if I could help her out with that. And so I took her down to the police station and sat while she gave her statement.
Aaron, I'm very surprised she didn't hit on you. I mean, you're a
I'm sorry?
good-looking young guy. You're a good-looking young guy. Are you Mormon too?
What kind of question is that?
Well, that seems to be her specialty. All right, let me just put that on a shelf and I'll read it. But
She's horrible. I'm like, this barrette. What is this barrette in her hair? It's like, what is she going for with this look? Oh my God.
to the car ride to the police station. What happened?
So long ago, I don't remember a lot, but I do remember from that weekend having conversations where she was saying, it's so sad. He meant so much to me. Why would anybody want to do this to somebody that's as great as Travis? And, in the moment, that made perfect sense. There was nothing about those conversations that was in the least bit alarming to me. In hindsight, knowing what she did and how she was involved, it's absolutely sickening.
Aaron, what was her demeanor? Everyone with me is Travis's former roommate, Aaron Dewey.
We should do a video of Nancy Grace.
Yes, please.
You have any thoughts about driving?
At the time, I didn't believe that she was involved. I didn't think that Jodi was capable of doing something like this, and let alone to someone like Travis, who she claimed to be very much in love with. So at the time, there was no fear for my safety. I was doing something to help out a friend. But looking back, it's pretty scary to know how close she was to me after what she had done just a few days before.
I want to go back to Aaron Dewey, close friend, former roommate of Travis Alexander, joining us tonight. You take her to the police station. You're hearing her caught on tape as she tells the cops all this BS. And I am using your quote. You said, I took her to the police station to give her first BS, except you did not use the initials, statement to police. Now, let me ask you this. As you saw the relationship begin to degenerate, what did you observe about Arias?
Nothing super out of the ordinary, when she would be there at the home, because she still frequented the house regularly, even after they broke up. A little bit more distant, maybe not quite as bubbly and outgoing as she usually was, but nothing that seemed too out of the ordinary.
And if she was a flat taxi dermatologist 359, then I think no one would really describe her as bubbly and outgoing all the time.
No, unless she is a 379, but I don't really get that either. She doesn't seem. I mean, her art looks like it.
I'm curious to see the correlation that Beth was mentioning, because I mean, at a glance and thinking about what I know about Ted Bundy, that's really hard for me to compare.
People much more intelligent than I have been working on for years, but one that I've been working on for years and trying to understand it. Is there enough time to explain it all? I don't know. I think I understand it, though. Understand what happened to me, to the extent that I can see how certain feelings and ideas developed in me to the point where I began to act out on them. Certain very violent and very destructive feelings.
Let's go back then to those roots. First of all, you, as I understand it, were raised in what you consider
Taylor.
Grew up in a wonderful home with two dedicated and loving parents, one of 5 brothers and sisters. Home where we as children were the focus of my parents' lives, where we regularly attended church. We had 2 Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical abuse, fighting in the home. I'm not saying this was Leave It to Beaver.
It wasn't perfect.
Well, no, I don't know that such a home exists, but it was a fine, solid Christian home, and nobody.
Yeah, she doesn't really vibe like him.
I feel this three-ish sleekness.
Yeah.
And her, it's more, I mean, she's a woman, she's a sexual type, but it's more playing with softness and innocence. And even if it's a play, I mean, it's still the way she chooses to be. And I think even a 3 would at some point cave and get back to competency, which she cannot really obtain. She is just creating different emotional narratives throughout that whole happening and the trial and the interrogations. And they're always relationship focused, and they're always super ego centered. And it's not about competency.
And in contrast with Ted, I mean, I know we just watched a very short clip with him, but he's really, to me, even though he talks a bit about, you know, things that are positive attributes or whatever, he's not focusing on anyone else's feelings the way that I feel like Jodi continuously does in her interviews. She tries to turn it around on someone else and the way they feel.
Mm-hmm. She's like literally asking the interviewers how they feel, and she and how she can help them. And she is going to the station after her car, I think, was already been declared evidence, and she didn't have a car. And then she made this roommate drive her to the station so that she could then helpfully give them her fingerprints and DNA. And this is so delusional. Like, what competency core would do this?
Yeah,
They would be ruthless. Get a lawyer and just don't say anything.
This is a good quote for him.
Yeah. Believes her own lies.
She does absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating to watch her. And she, okay, so, you know, a buzzword for 2 is manipulative, but it's amazing to me the way that you can see it play out in some of the interviews, because she will, this is kind of what I think the difference between attachment adaptation and 2's willingness to keep you focused on their image in a way that is effective. And that is that she will maybe try something to get you on her side and to see her in this certain light. And then she looks at you to see if that's working. And when it's not working, she moves another direction. But the image that she's painting of herself never changes. Only her strategy to sell it to you does.
And these strategies that she came up with were ridiculous. Like, bear any competency. She, first of all, she said she wasn't even in town. Then she was in town, but she didn't meet him. Then she met him, but she left. And then finally there were 2 intruders, and he was a pedophile, and the intruders killed him, but made her not say anything. And it was just bizarre. I think 5-6 area for her head would have been interesting to watch her pre-trial, pre-murder case. I think if you're so shell-shocked and your image is being deconstructed like that, and you're on meds because everybody in jail is on meds, then you could vibe more flat, or you will very likely vibe more flat. I mean, that's the purpose of jail. They sedate everybody so that there's less fights. And
well, I guess if she had a 5 head, actually, if she's not a 3, then her having a 5 head could be a point for the sociopath stuff, actually, because that's come up a few times now that she's a sociopath. So she would have to have like 3 or 5.
I forgot I watched this one. This one's actually pretty good. Like the things that she's just really, really convinced that she's loving and needed. And this cellmate of hers talks about that.
Sociopath.
Tracy Brown was Jodi's cellmate for 5 months, but has a permanent reminder of the killer. 6 tattoos, personally inked by Jodi. One even has her name on it. How does that make you feel?
Hey, that's Dewey.
Why?
Dewey, she branded her.
And now you go into public and tell that she's such a horrible person, but you're tattooed head to toe by her. What a hypocrite.
Michael.
That was the biggest mistake I ever made. This is crushed lead.
Tracy showed me how Jodi used lead from a pencil, mascara, and a makeshift needle to tattoo other inmates. That's how Jodi made extra money in jail, along with selling her original artwork.
So talented.
That does kind of speak to five head potentially. Again, I don't know that like a triple posse would want to be like tattooing people with like.
Also, look at her art. It's sexual social. That image specifically.
Yeah.
It's contra. Yeah. It's body parts. Yeah.
Says Jodi flirted with correctional officers, which is how she was able to keep all of the prohibited equipment she needed for her tattoos.
There
More sexual type.
Too. That's flattery to get what she wants.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's also, she's been exploited, or there's interviews or articles about her being exploited even before travels sexually, or that's the narrative. But I believe her that because I think sexual social having some kind of vulnerability, because the sexual is, even if it's guarded, I think sexual doms, not specifically sexual social, but I think sexual doms are very vulnerable to be used. And
yeah, maybe
a couple officers, she would flirt with and fly her hair with, and they would find the tattoo equipment, things you can get in trouble for, leave it alone.
Thanks to the ex-cellmate, we're also learning more about the night Jodi committed the murder. Tracy Brown says while she and Jodi Arias were cellmates here at the Estrella jail in Phoenix, Arizona, Jodi Arias actually confessed to murder, but claimed her ex-boyfriend was not the intended target.
She went there,
another story,
another woman, and kill her because she took her place.
Before his murder, Travis Alexander had been dating Lisa Daydone while continuing to secretly have sex with Arias. Tracy says Arias confessed during a quiet moment in their cell.
I'm just watching her, and she kind of goes down to her knees on the floor. And I was looking at her, I said, "What are you talking about?" And she started crying, just a couple tears coming out of her eyes. And then it was done.
Tracy says Arias also admitted.
Maybe because of the five head, I don't know.
Yeah, it's also some image, like she made a grand stage out of it, going down on her knees, and then
yeah, that does sound like a super ego move.
Admitted to stalking her ex-boyfriend in his backyard.
She said she would lie awake in bushes and watch him. And if she was ever caught, she would tell him she was there to get her social security card.
The ex-cellmate also claims,
"Just me getting my social security card again in your bushes, the third time this week, don't worry."
even though they supported her during her trial and appeal.
We love our daughter, we support her, and we stand behind her.
She was so mean to her mom, coming all the way from California to Arizona. It's a long trip, and there's at times she'll deny their visits because she wants to visit with a guy that she is manipulating.
The friendship between the two ex-cellmates continued.
Yeah, more sexual.
This is one of the many letters Arias wrote to her.
Tracy, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height of my soul can reach.
The defendant shall be incarcerated with the Department of Corrections.
But after she was given a life sentence in 2015, Jodi.
Tracy, how do I love thee? That's some two going line to four. Double image patheticness in the dark prison cell. Oh, I'm Shakespeare now. Yeah, I mean, it could be a six head. I have nothing, but I have more points to pointing to 5 than I have to 6, because we don't have her in a natural environment, and she has to withhold because that would ruin her case. But even with a even in that situation, I think with a reactive head, there would be more outsourcing to the guidance function and to like an external I don't have words anymore. I'm depleted. Yeah, to anybody watching this, we've been over this for quite a while now. I suppose it's not as long for anybody who's still watching, but it was quite.
Being self-assured, I think, is part of what you're getting at, right? Like she doesn't seem like she's referencing other things and seeking certain
And there's
tools.
yeah, and there's no externalized thinking. Like six heads often think out loud, like to make them hear it for themselves and also to ping off the person that's in interaction with them. And she doesn't do this. She's very withholding and also
I feel like it's like almost process of elimination that she has to be 5 head because of how flat she is, because she doesn't have that eager energy. And
yeah, she doesn't have the eagerness of 6. That's also a good point. So Mary Lydia, she's not your dark twin, your dark hero. You can rest easy.
Yes.
Your two self-image is saved for the day.
You look like you're basking in holy light. Yeah, like
yeah.
All right. I was watching this happen and I was like, oh, this is just getting amazing as this call goes on. She is so pathological and obviously an image type that she really hides things well, even from herself. Like her delusion is extreme.
Okay, Jodi Arias, we have a sexual, social 2-wing 3, 9-wing 8, and probably 5-wing 6, which makes her a hand puppeteer with a 3, 6, 8 overlay, mechanical bull. There's the power behind the soft demeanor. And her adjacent would be 359, so a taxidermatologist, which is very cold, neutral, competency focused. All in all, I think it's a trifix that fits a female psychopath pretty well.
Thank God it's over. Thank God it's over. Thank God it's over. It's over.